Hi everybody, welcome back. So for this video, I want to go into some of the problems you're going to be running into as you're doing SOLIDWORKS assemblies. Because they're going to happen. Like no matter what you do, at some point you're going to run into an issue. And so I'm going to try to run through some common issues here and show you how to fix them. Okay, so making an assembly, click OK. And let's start with Legos. Why Legos? Well, Legos are a really good way of just figuring out how things work and seeing how things go together because most people have played with Legos. Now, I have to have a first part here, and so I'm going to go to my desktop, and hopefully I have it saved in a place I can find it. There it is, basic Lego. Okay, so I've inserted my Lego here. Nice. It's fixed, that's why the little F is right there. So this guy can't be moved, but any other ones I insert can be moved. So let's insert another component. Which one? Another basic Lego. Okay. Now, start off with I'm just going to make these two together. I'm going to add a third piece in to get to our first issue here. And maybe I'll get lucky and the problem will show up beforehand. So first off, I want to have these guys at right angles. Why? Just for the sake of this video. There's no real particular reason for that. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say this surface and this surface, well, they should be tangent because that should hopefully turn this guy by about 90 degrees. I could manually turn it, but I'm just going to let it happen on its own. Aha! And I don't even have to try to set it up. Here is my first issue. Those two surfaces are sides of tangent. Coincident. Those two surfaces are coincident. Like, that is exactly what it did. That's exactly what SOLIDWORKS is interpreting it as. And that's correct. However, that's not what I wanted. I actually wanted this side of the Lego to be going across it. I wanted to be right angles to this, but on top of it, not beside it. So when you run into this, you're like, okay, what do I have to do? There's various things you can do. First off, if you set up your pieces so that they're closer to how they're supposed to be, just from the start, well, you wouldn't have had that issue to begin with. But there's an easy button you can click when you run into this problem. What button is that? It's right here, Mate Alignment. So I can have aligned or anti-aligned. Currently it's an anti-aligned. If I click aligned, you see that it jumps to the other side. So use that to save yourself a little bit of time. You don't have to go and redo everything. It will work nicely for you. Okay, let's go ahead and add a few more mates in. And we'll get this guy in place. Beautiful. Okay, so I got two bricks set up, and I can tell that they are fully defined. One, because I can't move this guy when I click and drag it. It doesn't go anywhere. And two, because if I'm looking at it in my Feature Manager design tree, I don't see a minus sign next to it. I would see in parentheses a minus sign, just like I see in parentheses an F here. So that means these two are fully defined. Okay, so the first issue I wanted to show you was just the issue of alignment. How sometimes the mates you add will align them opposite of what you're hoping for, but you can still fix that if you just either rearrange how it's set up so it's closer to the real thing, or if you just click on that anti-aligned or aligned button. So let's insert another component here. Basic Lego. Okay. Now, this time I'm going to do things slightly differently. And let's see if I can get another issue for you here, okay? Another issue. So there's lots of ways you can set up these Legos. Honestly, since these all have nice flat sides, it makes a lot of sense just to use a coincident mate and say those planes are coincident. However, technically, if I'm looking at the bottom here, this little round circle cylinder should be tangent to these pegs on the inner surface. And so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to save that. I'm going to say, hey, you circle, you are tangent to these pegs. I click on this surface right here, and I'll click on this first one to go ahead and get me started on mating. Okay. And I was really confused for a second. It didn't make it tangent. It jumped and thought it was being concentric. There we go. Okay, so this is tangent. Now, the issue is, you can kind of see that it's tangent on the wrong side. So how do I fix that? Well, in this case, I can, if I want to, just drag this around, and it will eventually get to where it wants. Like, this is not a huge issue. It might look like a problem, But so long as you're willing to move around, it can slide all the way around that circle, anywhere I want it. And then I'm going to go ahead and click this corner right here. I'm going to make these two together. And this point right here. Boop. There we are. And is it fixed? Nope. It can still dance all around. So I'll pick one more thing. I'm going to say these two lines right here. I'm going to mate them. And we have it good. Perfect. It's now fully defined. Now, did you notice here that I did more or less the same exact way of connecting these pieces, but I did completely different mates? That is normal, and that's completely fine. You can always mate things in different ways. So if one way makes more sense to you, use that way. If that way makes more sense to your friends, that's fine too. In the end, you're just trying to make sure it's fully defined. Now, let's run into the second issue you're going to run into a lot, especially working in a group with SOLIDWORKS assemblies. So I'm going to insert another component. This is one my quote-unquote friend created. And do you notice something about this piece? Well, it looks right when I zoom in on it, but you notice that it seems to be a bit small. So what happened here? Well, units matter. Now, with this Lego project that these videos are made for, I tell you, I really don't care what units you use. I'm not asking you to make these Legos to a 1:1 scale. I just want all dimensions to be to scale, some sort of scale. It can be 2:1, 3:1, 25.4:1. I really don't mind. And so, for me, I always build things using Lego units. So this is 10 Lego units wide and 20 Lego units long, 6 Lego units high. But one Lego unit in the unit system for SOLIDWORKS was just 1 inch when I built this. So IPS. The issue was, it appears that the person who made this one used millimeters instead. So it's 25.4 times too small, because there are 25.4 millimeters in 1 inch. So am I stuck? Does that person have to remake this part? Well, the answer is luckily no, they do not have to remake the part. You're like, but you already have these pieces. I do, I'm just showing you what would happen if you had one. It was easier just to use that one in general. So let me show you how I can either make these guys smaller or make this guy bigger. Just for this one right here, I'm going to make these guys smaller, make them the same size as this new piece. Okay, to do that, I'm going to have to open up those parts. So let's go to Basic Lego, and we're going to make it smaller. Here's my basic Lego. It looks good. It's in the IPS unit system. So for this one, I made one Lego unit equal to 1 inch. And I'm going to make this smaller. Now that millimeter piece, that tiny piece, was actually 25.4 times too small. Really, really small. And I want you to know you don't have to redo all your dimensions. There's literally one tool that you can use and have it done instantly. It's glorious. So let's check it out. So features, you're not going to find it here. There's actually a second way to find this feature. Go to Insert, go to, my goodness, Features, there it is. I saw a fascinating feature and it completely threw me off there. Features, there we go. And then go down here until you reach Scale. This is the glorious tool right here. Scale is the one you want to use. So when I click on Scale, it says Scale about centroid, always want to do that. Uniform scaling, definitely. And I want to make it 25.4 times smaller. So what you're giving here is a fraction or a multiple. More than 1 means it gets bigger, less than 1 means it gets smaller. So I want to get smaller, so 1 divided by 25.4, what does that equal? That number that was already there, I wonder why. I click on the green checkbox, and suddenly you see it's gotten tiny. And I would need to save this. So I can either save this as a new thing. Typically, I would say, if you're updating it, you might want to save it as save as basic Lego, millimeters. Or you can just say this is basic Lego fixed. Whatever you're going to do. I'm just going to save it because I will automatically update in my assembly. Okay, let's go back to assembly 1. It says models contained with the assembly have changed. Would you like to rebuild the assembly now? Click yes. it got really angry at us. You know why it got really angry at us? I honestly have no idea. I think it's just the mates were so far away from where they were that it just could not figure it out. It does its best here. So we'll delete that tangent mate. And the rest are fine, but this guy is still way, way off. Can these guys move? Nope. So this is a problem I didn't expect to run into. I've never actually had to do this before. So, and this guy right here, what's happened, if it's doing what I think it is all these pieces, they were so far off from their original location that it completely threw them off. So I'm going to delete these mates right here. There we go. And by deleting a few mates, it finally figured out where it was. Part of that, I think, was it just needed to update. But yeah, the dimensions were so far away that SOLIDWORKS struggled to figure out where it was supposed to go. So if that happens to you, just delete a mate, and a lot of times it'll fix it. Which mate should you delete? Start with any ones that are red, because when things go wrong, it will give you red mates or yellow mates, and then go from there. Red mates, bad. Yellow mates, warning. Here, I'm going to go ahead and add one for you and show you a bad mate. Now this guy right here is already fully defined. Like, it is set in stone. I don't need any more mates to tell it where to be. But I'm going to add a mate. I'm going to add a mate that can't be possible. I'm going to say that these two surfaces are concentric. It's not going to like me for doing this. And it's asking me two things. Okay, it says add this mate and break other mates to satisfy it. Add this mate and overdefine the assembly. We'll do this one first and I'll show you what it looks like the other way. Okay, so I've overdefined my assembly. And what that means is simply that this one cannot happen. Like, it's not possible for this mate to be possible because it's over here and I said it was concentric with this guy. So typically if you get a red mate, you should delete it. Delete the following items? Yes. Okay, now let's try again, but this time I'm going to break the other mates and see what happens. Concentric, green checkbox, break other mates to satisfy it. Boom. Okay, and now you see that these two are in yellow and these two are red. It's simply saying that these two mates are now impossible. There's no way for them to actually happen. And so you can either do one of two things. You can delete them, which will fix everything, or you can undo and try to redo things. So if it says you're about to overdefine things, just don't do it. If you do overdefine things by accident, well, the way to start to fix things is usually to delete the red mates if it looks like you, if everything's looking right, and then go from there. Once I've done that, you can see everything is happy again. This guy is still fully defined. Nice. But one of these guys is not. Oh, yes. My other poor lonesome Lego, which is way over here. Okay. But with that, hopefully you've seen some of the issues you're going to run into with assemblies and how you can solve those problems. Now, remember, as you're doing this project, if you have trouble, make sure you reach out to me. I am here to assist you every single step of the way. Thank you all so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.